So let's talk a little bit about the magazine business and what it's like working in the industry itself. Okay. So before I get into that, let's look at where you would be able to find out information about all this. So Blue Ink, later we'll look at the video on Blue Ink, but just so you know, Blue Ink actually owns these titles in Malaysia. So you'd see titles like Clio, Cosmo, Female, Glam, Harper's Bazaar, Her World, Icon, Jalita, Malaysian Women's Weekly. Okay, so if you click on this, like I already click on female, and it says here that if you look carefully, there's the group managing editor's information together with the editor's information. Then you have red card for print and web, and an e-mag, plus how frequent is it, what language, and what's the cover price. Now, if you click on red card, basically it tells you a little bit about the magazine. Okay, so if you look at female, for example, it gives you who we are, all right, how many percent fashion, how much percent lifestyle, how much percent beauty, features, what's the direction of the editorial, meaning the voice. Is it fun loving, is it casual, or whatnot? Okay, so it's written here. Who are their readers? Okay, you've got the readers' profiles here. A little sample about the regional editions. So this one's Singapore, and a bit about special projects, supplements, things like that, events, workshops. Okay, then you would have your editorial calendar, like what do they publish in January, February, March, April, May, June, July, those sorts of things. Okay, their covers, and finally how much it costs to put an advertisement on in the magazine. Full page color, full page, double page spread. Double page spread is basically two pages together. Okay, half a page, two quarter, inside back cover, inside front cover. So you can find out all this information. You have the digital uh, transmission print ads. So here they have a disclaimer as to what they require. Okay, this is the print version. But if you go to, let's say, the web version, okay, they also have a rate card for the web version. So what are some of the web addresses that you see? What's the universe like? How many people, how many reaches do they get? What's the age group demographics, location? Okay, what's the editorial mix? Online habits are important because in the communications industry, you want to know where to go to get the most out of your money when you're talking about advertising. Then what are some of the things they do online? Okay, and this is how much it costs. So you have a super leaderboard, and they tell you the location, like the super leaderboard is here, okay, and things like that. So this is how much the advertising on a magazine costs, and you can find rate card for, let's say, if I were to pick Clio, you'll find the rate card for Clio, you find it for Malaysian Women's Weekly, and things like that. Right? Now, if you go to the individual websites, they would tell you who the editor is and then what are the different scopes of work available in that magazine. So, for example, when we look at content, you have sub-editor. That's the person who checks the copy and proofreads and fact checks as well. Then you have the fashion editor, the writers, content producer, before you finally reach the art and design. The art and design director is responsible for laying everything out onto print. What headline, what font to use, what photos, how much space to give each article, those sorts of things. And then you finally have an editor in chief. This is integrated sales. Here is the person doing basically SMP, sales and promotion. So your advertising falls here. Marketing and communications would be how to best sell the magazine. Okay, not advertising, but this is more publicity for a magazine, sponsorships, public relations, those sorts of things. So this is how it looks like. Now going back to the lecture, magazines often and sometimes begin cheaply via desktop publishing. They allow a publisher editor or one person to write, design, layout, and finally print on or post a web version of the magazine. But when we talk about a full-blooded print magazine, it's made up of various departments. So like what you saw with Clio, you have the editorial department, and that's the lifeblood of any magazine. Okay, because you've got your editor-in-chief, your managing editor, your sub-editors, your writers, and the writers can be full-on, full-time staff, or they can be freelancers. Then you have your advertising and sales team, and they provide promotions, ad placements, they manage clients. Okay, so the average magazine has 45% ad copy and 55% editorial, meaning at any given time when you pick up a magazine, you will see at least nearly half of it would be advertisements or advertorials, and the rest would be content like reviews, feature articles, even recipes, beauty tips, that sort of thing. Then you have the circulation and distribution department. They are responsible for single copy sales, meaning the sales that you buy from your bookstores or your news agencies, or even your friend who bought extra copies, that sort of thing. Or it can be subscription sales, like you can go online or even through a magazine with a card and get a subscription. Okay, and it's often 12 magazines for a slightly discounted price, those sorts of things. Now, strategies for circulation and distribution here include things like evergreen subscriptions. Customers subscribe until they choose to cancel. So evergreen here would be every month I get this one copy, or I subscribe for 1 year and I get the copies delivered to me on a monthly basis. Okay, those are what we call evergreen. Then controlled subscriptions are basically your airline magazines. The airline produces a magazine that is funded through advertising or corporate sponsorship. So a good example would be your Going Places. That is a very, very good example of the controlled circulation, where you only see it on AirAsia or MAS flights, and it never leaves the plane. Okay, but every month there is one copy, and the money to produce it comes from the airline, advertising, or sponsorship. Okay. Now, when you look at magazines, you need to consider content categories. So you have general consumer magazines. Your run-of-the-mill, usually in the old days, they had very broad appeal, but now they are very specialized in terms of their audiences. Okay. Let's remove the business publications first. So you have magazines that cater to people who like cars, who like knitting, who like weaving, like hiking, sports, beauty, and even then they come in different languages. Then finally, you have the business magazines. Okay, those are trade related, like SME magazine. SME magazine is the small medium enterprise magazine, so it's catered towards small medium sized corporations. Okay, you have medical or healthcare magazines, like there's a magazine called Baby Talk, for example, that only looks at parenting. Sometimes you have a magazine for doctors only, or for even dentists, and those are produced by businesses or professional organizations. Then you have custom magazines. Custom magazines would be your airline magazines. Okay, and you have your literary review and academic journals. So if, for example, if you go to um, let's pick a journal, Wiley Online. Okay, so Wiley Online produces a variety of journals and research articles. So if you look at the subjects here, for example, if I'm interested in medicine, right, and I'm looking for neurology, I go there. These are journal articles. And if you notice here, Journal of Biomedical Materials, Journal of Clinical Ultrasound, okay, those are the actual journals that these will be published in. And this is how it looks like. All right. Now let's go back to, then you've got finally your newsletters and your public relations magazines. Now I'm going to show you a video by Blue Ink just to give you an idea of magazine ownership in Malaysia.